Scenes on the mountain of Lutz Ardennes, 1,700 metres high in the Pyrenees. A terrific atmosphere here. It's electric. Everybody expecting a decision today in the Tour de France. Let's have a look immediately at the route the riders face. It begins very flat indeed, and I can tell you at the moment there have been no attacks over the first 50 kilometres. And the reason, right at the end, these three mountains. The Col d'Aspin, the Col de Tourmalet, and the vicious, cruel climb of Lutz Ardennes. It's a ride of 215 kilometres. Now, Paul and I stopped in Toulouse last night and we picked up a rumour that Greg LeMond had been sick in his hotel. He was trying to keep it a secret, in fact, and he hopes the riders don't know about it. There's a fear he may have picked up the bug that has taken Robert Millar out of this Tour de France. We certainly hope not. It's a day, though, when the big climbers must attack. Their time is running out. This is the overall GC. We'll look at it very quickly and then we'll get right into the action. Claudio Chiappucci on top, but for how long? The men line up behind him. Breukink, LeMond, Delgado, Pensek and Bunyo.
And as expected, the field did come to the base of the Col d'Aspin altogether, and then has come the first surprise of today. The yellow jersey himself, Claudio Chiappucci, attacked with 6 riders in all, and they were Jorg Müller, Jean-Claude Bagot, Jérôme Simon, Martinez, Torres, Johan Bruneel and Palacio joined them to make a leading group of 7. But back in the main chase group, there was a problem for Eric Breukink. He had to make an immediate bike change 5 kilometres from the summit of the Col d'Aspin. And then as he rode along, he was clearly unsettled on the new bike and he called for his service car. When the service car got there, he changed bikes again, and this time it was with his teammate, Jos van Aert, number 39, and he rode back into the group. The group containing Greg LeMond, so any rumours that Greg LeMond isn't feeling too well are not yet apparent. He's riding strongly in the chase group. And at the top of the climb, the leaders had built a lead of some 40 seconds over the main field. The order over the top, the yellow jersey himself having a little bit of a tussle with Hernandez, gets the first place. Hernandez coming to this group just before the summit along with Connie Chev. The rest of the group going over just behind him, and Thierry Claverola also joining the lead group before the top. The official gap over the main field of favourites was 34 seconds, and then on the descent, as you can see from these pictures, the yellow jersey taking a lot of risks on the way down as he almost overcooks it on this sharp bend. Well, we're looking here now at the chase group coming up towards the top of the Col de Tourmalet. In fact, the yellow jersey is still out ahead of this group. The group that was away on the Col d'Aspin reformed temporarily. Then Jorg Müller went ahead for a while. He was brought back. Then the yellow jersey group reduced to 6. It split into 2 groups of 3. And at the moment, the leader on his own is Martinez Torres, who must now be approaching the top of the Col de Tourmalet, clear of the yellow jersey group. We're watching Greg LeMond here. He forced the pace as we came through the village of La Mongie with 4 kilometres to go. He was joined by Miguel Indurain and Montoya, and Pedro Delgado struggled to make contact, which he did do so, and there he is now sitting at the back of this group of 5. The rider in the blue jersey is Bruno Cornier. He was up ahead. He's dropped back to aid LeMond, and he's ridden at the front ever since he's come back from the lead group. So it's Bruno Cornier and Greg LeMond saying something, as he has been all the way up here, to Miguel Indurain. He's not happy at all that Indurain is refusing to set the pace. But I think Indurain is realising now he's nursed Pedro Delgado through this Tour de France, when if he'd have ridden his own race, he would have been a challenger now to Greg LeMond. But he lost 11 minutes on Alpe d'Huez after he put Pedro Delgado in a position to ride well on that stage. And it looks, Paul, as though Pedro Delgado has not got the legs we expected today.
Well, it looks as if he's suffering quite a bit at the moment, but Lutz Ardennes is a different kind of climb. Indurain, however, does look a lot better. The gap between Chiappucci and LeMond at the moment is 1 minute 10 seconds, so it looks as if they're coming back quite a bit to the Chiappucci group. But what a move by Chiappucci on a day like this, when everybody was expecting him to disappear from the race completely. He's taken the race into his own hands and gone clear.
A super ride by the yellow jersey. He did the only thing he could do. He didn't wait for the favourites to attack him. He attacked them. and he's now coming up towards the top of the Col de Tourmalet with a 1 minute 10-second lead over his major rivals, and that of course increases his overall lead at the moment to over 3 minutes, because Eric Breukink, second overall in the race this morning, is not enjoying his day in the Pyrenees at all. He's in a group which has lost over a minute now to Greg LeMond's group, and in fact he's dangling off the back of that group as well, and Raul Alcala is trying to get him up over the top of the Tourmalet. So the Pyrenees are having their say once more in the Tour de France. This is the leader, Martinez Torres, in his first Tour de France, and he's now attacked the Tourmalet with no fear at all, working his way steadily through the groups. He's now out on his own. He had with him for a while William Palacio from the Postobon team, but he got rid of him at 5 kilometres to the summit, and he's ridden on by himself ever since. And you can get some idea of the gradient of the Tourmalet at the top. It is very, very steep indeed. Out come the newspapers now, up the Jersey for the long, cold descent, and keep the wind off the chest, otherwise you start shaking on the way down. And the last thing they want now is to go into a bad state for the final climb, which is the hardest climb of the day, and it's still to come. The clock counting down then as Torres has gone over the top. This is Greg LeMond's group. Indurain at last comes to the front.
Well, they've just picked up Anselmo Fuerte, who was in between the groups at one time. He's been picked up. Konichev there at the back, he's been picked up along the way. And now it looks as if Indurain, or no, Greg LeMond himself has gone back to the front to put the pressure on and try and force Delgado into a position where he's going to have to do some work. There in second place, Miguel Indurain. Really, I think if there was a man of the match in this Tour de France, it would have to be him.
I would absolutely agree, Paul. But right now, let's not forget the yellow jersey. He's doing exactly the right thing. Look at the crowds here, all waiting on the Tourmalet. Wait till you see the crowds when the riders come up to Lutz Ardidon. The whole of France and Spain are down this end of the country today. Basques are here, the Basque flag is flying high, and they're cheering for two riders. Marino Lajareta, we haven't seen him all day, and also, of course, Pedro Delgado. This is Palacio. He was dropped by Martinez Torres, but he's going to get over the top in second place. He's lost over a minute as he comes up towards the summit, and it's not going to be far away from 1:30 as he takes the newspaper as well. So the Col de Tourmalet, one of the most famous climbs in the Tour de France, is at last conquered by the first two over the top. 1 minute 33 the gap there for Palacio. Here's the yellow jersey, not too far behind. This is a superb defence by the yellow jersey. Conte sprints away for third place, and it's 1 minute 50. They go over the top. Conte just coming over ahead of the yellow jersey, Chiappucci. This is Titi Clavarola. He was shelled out by that lead group, but he found his strength halfway up. He's managed to keep a high position. He's won this King of the Mountains competition after that great couple of days in the Alps, and he scored not too badly here in the Pyrenees either. 2 minutes 14 seconds for Clavarola. As we now look back to the heads of state, the riders who must be stunned by this cheeky attack by the yellow jersey. And no doubt that Chiappucci has considered his chances well and worked out that if he was going to stay in yellow, he had to give it a real shot today.
Well, there's another regrouping here at the front as well, because there on the left-hand side there is Marino Lejarreta, who's come back into the picture, and just at the back of the group is Fabio Parra. They've come back with the rest of the bunch coming up behind, maybe 20-30 seconds behind, led by Claude Croquillon.
Here comes LeMond's group, the principal group in the Tour de France, spinning for the newspapers as well for the descent down the other side. They're going over the summit, 2 minutes and 57 seconds behind Martinez Torres, but more importantly, they are still more than a minute behind the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, and no one would have thought that at this stage of the Pyrenean Pass today, the Col de Tourmalet. We'll take a short break, and we'll be back for the big climb to the finish on Lutz Ardiden. Approaching the summit of Lutz Ardiden, the last climb of today in the Pyrenees. The yellow jersey for the first time appears in trouble. He was caught, his small group was caught at the base of this climb by Greg LeMond's group, which includes Pedro Delgado, but not Gianni Bugno, Ronan Pentek or Eric Breukink. And then the yellow jersey seems to be surviving so well on this climb, and there has just been an attack by Fabio Parra. And as Paul Serwins just said to me, his mistake was to ride at the front too long.
Well, that was the big problem with Claudio Chiappucci. He's been on his own for much too long today. He's had to do all the work at the front of this group. I think possibly it would have been better if he'd been a little bit calmer and forced some of the other riders to make the pace at the front. And at the moment, he's in great difficulty. But if Pedro Delgado can stay in there, and maybe might neutralise the move, but it looks as if Chiappucci is really dropping back somewhat here as LeMond is at the front, forcing the pace.
So Claudio Chiappucci is now going to have to try and find some effort to limit the escape here, because he still has a good advantage over Greg LeMond in the overall situation. He's 2 minutes 24 seconds ahead of him, and if he doesn't panic, he'll find his second breath, get back into a rhythm, and who knows, he might come back up to the lead group yet. There were 12 riders in this group, and they're all chasing, of course, the man who has led all the way up this climb. He's built a lead now of 3.5 minutes, and that's Miguel Martinez Torres. And I think he'll go on to the victory today now, because he is not important in this Tour de France. He's lost too much time already. All the leaders want to do now is get rid of the yellow jersey.
There is Pedro Delgado. It looks as if he's in grave difficulties here, because the group, there's the Le Mans group, I would think, and in between there was, in fourth place, was Fabio Parra. Can Delgado get back? I'm not sure. He looks as if he's been in grave difficulty all day.
And this is a little bit of support now from the Carrera team manager, who's come up to him. This will be David Boyfather, telling him maybe, Paul, not to panic.
Well, that's the only thing he can tell him at this instance, because let's not forget that he still has 2 minutes 24 advantage over Greg LeMond, and LeMond has got to take that amount back, because it's so difficult to leave it to the final time trial, especially an undulating time trial like the Lac de Vassivière, which is where Chiappucci could pull out a good performance if he doesn't lose all that time today. But the way LeMond is going at the moment, I would think that we could very well see LeMond in yellow tonight.
And here's the yellow jersey. And he's a long, long way back now. This is the group of Andy Hampsten down here. So he's coming up to Delgado. The yellow jersey is coming back, Paul. If he keeps this up, he's going to hold his second place if he doesn't keep his yellow.
Well, he's kept his cool very much so there. He's riding this climb at his own pace, and he may well find that he'll come back to the Delgado group. And that may be what he was only after doing today. Maybe he just wanted to be able to get onto the podium and finish in the first three in Paris. But at the front, Greg LeMond is racing for the yellow jersey.
That's Eric Boyer trying to get through there to catch up with Pedro Delgado, who's trying to go clear here over these last couple of kilometres to see if he can catch up with Greg LeMond. He's let him go, now he's going to have to go for him. Boyer, the teammate of LeMond, will sit there and annoy him. He's the policeman of Le Mans Z team. Hampsten bringing back Claude Coquillon. And the yellow jersey still with Rodriguez a little bit behind them. Three of the world's best climbers currently in competition. Delgado, not one of them here today. He's behind this group of three. And Marino Lajaretta, this amazing man, for the third year in succession, he's riding the three big tours. The Tours de France, Spain and Italy. Well, Delgado, I think, might be responding, Paul, to the fact that everybody is shouting in Spanish right now.
Well, amazing, the number of Spanish buses and Spanish spectators at the top of this climb. It's almost as if Delgado is racing in front of a home crowd. But when you come to a climb like this and you've got nothing left, it really is difficult to lift yourself.
Look at the rhythm that LeMond has found here now. Indurain wants that guy out of the way. He can't concentrate on the wheels ahead of him. The zigzags now as this road rears very, very steeply indeed up to the finishing line of the ski station. Well, 3 kilometres to go.
3 kilometres to go on the latest time check. Back to Chiappucci is 1 minute and 30 seconds. So Greg LeMond has got to take less than a minute out of Chiappucci in this last 3 kilometres to wear that yellow jersey.
It's possible that he will take a minute in 3 kilometres because it's the steepest part of the climb. Greg LeMond has saved as much effort as possible today to give him everything he had on these last 7 or 8 kilometres up the climb to Luz Ardiden. He's going again now, and Lajaretti's having to chase after him.
And there's the Onze team car, Phil. I'm not sure if that was the team car that was in the front with Martinez Torres, but it may well be that Le Monde is coming back. In fact, the time check's just come through, 30 seconds from Le Monde to Martinez Torres, so we could be playing for the stage victory today.
Absolutely unbelievable, because it was 3.5 minutes, not 4 kilometres ago, and Le Monde has gone into overdrive. He's pulling with him Larreta and Miguel Indurain, 3 kilometres for the Delgado group, and there's only 3 of them left here now: Delgado, Quillion and Boyer.
Well, Phil Legeretta's going there as well. The pressure of Le Monde is putting on is unbelievable. The man who's done really one of the races of the Tour is Miguel Indurain, who's staying with him.
I just can't understand why Miguel Indurain didn't believe in himself and thought he could win this Tour de France instead of working. And there's Torres. They've caught him, Miguel Torres, and he really looked like a winner just a couple of kilometres ago. Greg LeMond now is riding completely as a man obsessed with victory in the Tour de France. And just look at this turn of speed. I think the only other man who would have lived with Greg LeMond in his heyday was Eddy Merckx now. Because Greg LeMond looks so good. Surely he's winning the Tour de France today here on Luz Ardiden, because it swings at the end of the week to the time trial. Completely smashed everybody on the climb. Pedro Delgado, who came up this climb a couple of years ago in the leader's yellow jersey, going on to victory. Not the case today. The other yellow jersey is being worn today by Claudio Chiappucci, and he too, I think, will be back in club colours tomorrow of the Carrera team. The switchbacks continue as it brings them right up to the heights here. And Indurain is just hanging on to that back wheel of Greg LeMond. 1 minute 50 now to Chiappucci. 2:29, or rather 2 minutes 24 is what LeMond is looking for to take the leader's yellow jersey. Racing through the flags here, Greg LeMond is hauling his way up to the yellow jersey. I feel sure of that now. And Miguel Indurain making it plainly clear that he does not want any more water poured over him, and it's 1 kilometre to go to the summit. The final kilometre on what has been a marvellous day in the Tour de France. The yellow jersey did it all right. He attacked the leaders and he got the lead he wanted. But it looks now as though he's paying the price at the end. Here he comes under the 2 kilometre banner. Greg LeMond and Miguel Indurain is riding 1 kilometre in front of him. And they built that lead in the last 5 kilometres of the day. A tremendous performance by Greg LeMond.
Well, that's a brilliant performance by LeMond. It's one of the best performances I think we've seen in the last few years, and especially from a man who came into the Tour with no form at all, or we didn't think he had any form at all. He's progressed all the way through. Where everybody was surprised this morning when they heard the possibility that Greg LeMond was ill, but I think today he's not a man who's ill.
Well, he receives £1 million a year for peddling his bike for a French children's clothing manufacturer. And now I guess they know why he asked for so much money, because he has ridden so well. There's the kilometre kite, and that's for the second group on the road now, which is Claude Quillion, Pedro Delgado and Eric Bowie. But just look at the crowd up here today now, as Greg LeMond forces his way through a corridor of people. And for the first time since the attack, Miguel Indurain has taken the lead, and that might annoy Greg. It might even inspire him to take the stage as well, because Indurain is trying to ride Greg off his wheel, but Greg LeMond is riding like a man possessed, but he's losing the wheel now of Indurain. Indurain has waited for this. He's going to salvage the victory for Delgado's Banesto team because we're on the Spanish borders. But that won't mean too much now, because Greg LeMond will sit down and watch the count tick by, the clock tick by, as we come up to the last 200 metres for Greg LeMond, the world champion, wearing the rainbow jersey after 7 hours in the saddle. And it's going to be Miguel Indurain, and he certainly deserves his victory in this Tour de France. And if he hadn't made such a sacrifice on Alpe d'Huez, he might well have been racing for the yellow jersey himself. Instead of helping Delgado, he should have thought of himself. Delgado will not win this Tour de France. Miguel Indurain won't either. He knows it, but he applauds the crowd for the victory. And the clock will start, more importantly, on Greg LeMond, who finishes 6 seconds behind Indurain. And that means the clock now has got to count 2 minutes 30 seconds. And if Chiappucci does not beat 2 minutes 30 seconds, then he will lose the yellow jersey to Greg LeMond in the Tour de France. That's Delgado sprinting in just ahead of Eric Foyer. So Delgado loses to Greg LeMond 1 minute and 30 seconds exactly.
Stop! Stop!
And here's the yellow jersey, and you know he's going to save it. Claudio Chiappucci, well, he deserves this. He rode such a great race. And it's going to be another day in yellow with 100 metres to go. It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. 2:30 is knockout time. Chiappucci still sprints for the line. It's almost the 8 seconds of a year ago. 2:24, and I think he'll have the lead by 6 seconds. 6 seconds he's kept his yellow jersey, and I think that is justice today.
Well, while the riders continue to come up the mountain, let's have a look at the result first. A win for Miguel Indurain. The right team, but the wrong man, I suspect. It should have really been Pedro Delgado. In second place, Greg LeMond, 6 seconds back. Had he held the wheel of Indurain, then he would have led the Tour de France tonight by a single second. Third place, Marino Lagiuretta. Fourth place, the man who led for most of the way up the mountain today, Miguel Martinez Torres. Well, as always, Paul Sherwin is sharply away from my commentary position, down to the winners of the day, and he had a terrific fight tonight to get the words from Greg LeMond.
Greg, on a day when everyone was expecting Delgado, how did you expect him to go?
I thought Delgado would be stronger, but I felt great today. I felt great.
You're just 5 seconds behind the jersey. Do you think you've got the jersey now?
It's not won until the time trial, but it looks very good.
So, Greg, you know the time trial in Lac de Vassivière. You must feel confident.
I feel very confident. I think I can beat Cappuccino. If I can't, then I don't deserve to win.
Let's have a look then at the overall result now and confirm that 5-second lead of Claudio Chiappucci. Third place now, Pedro Delgado. Back to fourth is Eric Breukink. Up to fifth is Marino Lagiuretta. Just look at these scenes now. Greg LeMond's family celebrating the fact he's closed the gap to 5 seconds. The clock turns back 12 months. The same family were celebrating Greg LeMond's victory